I'm Kelly Carter, and this is Another Act.
I'm so hyper-focused on being the best host and bring the best energy and having that empathy off and on camera. Now, do I drop it low in between sets? Yes, there are some clips where I'm just like, for no good reason, or probably all good reasons, I decide to just like twerk in some heels.
Welcome, Allie. Welcome to the show. Allie, again, thank you so much for doing this today. You know, a lot of times when we meet people in one way, we get accustomed to them staying inside of that lane in particular, but you're someone who has really been able to break out and do a number of different amazing things, and that feels very revolutionary. So let's start there. Tell me a little bit about that journey for you.
I have to say you've uncovered something that I don't think about often, is that we do get comfortable with people in spaces, in boxes, in lanes. You always hear stay in your lane. And you're just like, what if my lane is almost like diversified, right? Like what if I'm in multiple lanes or taking up more space? Are people comfortable with that? And most times, to your point, they're not often comfortable with it. So I will say, thank you for uncovering that. I have to think a little bit more about that. However, when it comes to the reason I do all the things that I do, I recognize that life is short. At 9 years old, I got hit by a car, almost died. And I understand the power of a minute, right? Your life could change in a minute in either direction, right? It doesn't even have to be a fork at the road. It doesn't have to be a moment where it's a massive decision. In an instant, things can change for any one of us that are around. And understanding that at such a young age, what I decided to do was, instead of just, okay, well, I'm gonna live my life. No, I'm going to live my life. And I'm going to live it on my terms. That doesn't mean that I do that without heartache or emotional irreconciliation that I have internally that we all go through, or depression or anxiety. I too have dealt with or are dealing with some of those things, like any given person. But it comes down to that sheer experience of, I know that life is precious. I know that it can go by. It can go in an instant. And you hear most people saying that it goes by so fast. I think of like one of my best friends. She has 2 kids. They're like, both of them are small babies, and her husband are like, it's the most beautiful, chaotic thing. And at the same time, I like want to pull my hair out. Like I want them to grow up. And every parent with a child that's older is like, oh my gosh, it went by so fast. So one person or a set of parents are like, this isn't going fast enough. And then other folks say, well, it went so fast. And we're constantly living in that space. And so for me, knowing that that's the case, I'm deciding that these are the things that I enjoy and or are good at, and they all intersect in a place called camera, community, and conversation, which are 3 things that are important to me that I could do all day, as you could tell. And so for me, it's like, you know what? I don't necessarily need to stay in my lane, or my lane is diversified in that I want to show up in different spaces, and I want to forge this last generation because it brings me joy, and life is short.
Oh my gosh. And the thing over here that's hanging in my brain right now is the idea that at 9 years old, you had the emotional maturity and capacity and intelligence to make such a powerful directive for yourself and for your life. Tell me a little bit more about that. You know, has it been challenging for you to hold on to that over the years?
Yeah, it's like an automated airplane. When you get on a plane, the pilot isn't technically flying the plane, right? You are not technically flying your plane. It's an on or off course that happens. There's a signal in the plane, like technology that says on course, off course, on course. And as long as the deviation is within a time reference that makes sense, then you make it to your destination. And that's what I feel like for me. I don't always have the answers, and things don't always feel good. And I'm not always like, let's go get it. And every day is a beautiful day. But what I recognize, if 80% or 70% of the time I do feel grounded, I feel secure, I feel aligned, I feel like I'm in a purpose, I feel like my talents that God has given me is being used and leveraged and is helpful to other folks via feedback. That's how I know, right? Tap into community feedback. Crowdsourcing is expensive if you have a company. So it's one of those things, if I know that is happening, then I feel like that I'm that plane. I'm on course, off course, on course, off course. And I do, like I said, that off course mentality, which maybe some folks are like, I'm always off course. You might feel like you're always off course. I think I do a little bit of that work, or a lot of it of that internal work, right? Who is Allie? Like, who am I? Who do I want to be? And who do people see me as? And I ask myself that question probably once a month. Like I have it, and I talk to my husband a lot about it. We both do. It's like, well, who am I? Can I articulate to you who I am? Not what I do, but who am I? I'm hardworking, I'm approachable, and I'm fun. That is who I am in everything that I do. I work really hard. I will outwork anyone when it's needed. I'm approachable in that I want to be the open face on the streets of New York City that you ask for directions, that you feel comfortable coming up, saying something to, because I want to be that person. And I want to shut down any party. I want to be the most fun at the end of the day. I want us to have a good time. Right. And that's what I bring in those things. So it's like, who am I? Who do I want to be? Understanding that maybe not in 5 years, or maybe not even in a year, but who do I want to be tomorrow? Who do I want to be, in a month? And I think about it to be, completely vulnerable. It's like, when I think of who do I want to be, I often come back to my grandmother. I didn't have the closest relationship with my grandmother, but I've always sought my family's approval, and that I want them to be proud of me. As a woman, as a Black woman, as a woman with an afro, like as a tall woman who stands out, oftentimes I am very aware of the stereotypes or how I come off in a room. And those are things that we're taught, whether you're playing in the sandbox or not, take it as you want. But I often think of the things that I'm doing, the way that I'm acting and or reacting and responding. Would my grandmother be proud of me? Would my ancestors be proud of me, of all the work that they put in? And I know that for some people, you're like, okay, we're getting a little too heavy. But that is my North Star of like, who do I want to be? I want folks to be proud of me. And this is funny because I have a new assistant, and I'm talking to her, and I'm like, it's important that your parents are proud of me too. When I go on TV, they see your work in me. I need the people around me, their families, to also be proud of me, because I'm a reflection of them. And so for me, that is like, that's who I want to be. And then it's understanding, who do people see me as? When you intro the video and you're like, you have so many jobs, I hear that all the time. And it's understanding, how do I come off? And so by asking myself those 3 questions, I think, to your point, I am able to be ambitious, but I'm also able to be on course, off course, by just checking in with myself. I don't have all the answers, but this has worked for me thus far. It may not work for me forever, but it's worked so far. And so that's what I lean into, those questions, that self-awareness, and just like knowing that not every day is shiny and pretty. And that's good, because we all need a story to tell.
Okay, so now I'm officially obsessed with you, and I completely now really have this realization why you're showing up in so many different spaces. When did you realize that you just had this particular purpose?
It's my mom. And again, like, I feel like I've been talking about my mom a lot lately. She's amazing. But my mom growing up, she would always like whisper sweet nothings. She would say like whisper sweet nothings to us of like, and it wasn't necessarily like you're beautiful or you're talented. They were very specific things. And sometimes the sweet nothings weren't sweet at all. Cause I remember growing up and she said, you're an unfinisher. That's what, she came in my room and she said, we were talking, and I must have been honestly like 8 years old. And I remember this. She's like, you're an unfinisher. And I was like, what? And she's like, you don't finish projects, you start. And it was one of those things where it was feedback. It was very critical feedback for 8-year-olds. Hell, I'm 8-year-olds, mom. Like, come on now. But it was something that stuck with me in the moments of sweet nothings where she would say, you are anointed. Like, if anyone can do it, you can. And she would say, did anyone in the class get an A? That means you can do it too. Like, we're not doing the impossible. If someone did it, it's not impossible. That means you can do the possible. Impossible, we have a different conversation. And so it's some of those things that stuck with me. And now that's why I try to finish everything that I do. Even my plate, right? I'm like, I'm not an unfinisher today. I'm full, but I'm going to the end. Give me another chicken wing. You know what I mean? But it is like, my mom was very integral in me being this, like, she would say that I'm a light. I don't know. I don't always see it. I don't always feel it. As someone who deals with her own anxiety, who's been depressed before, I know what it feels like to not feel like a light or be a light. But it is something that my mom has either instilled in me or that she saw in me and never let me forget. And I will say, one of the things that I recognize lately about myself, for good or for bad, I don't know. You know what I think I am? Like, how you have those moms. I'm not a mom yet. I have no kids. But you know how I can only equate it to a mom or like a cheerleader. Like in school, you cheer for the team. But then you have like a mom or a big sister or a family member that is just like, they clap for you all the time. I am that person to my friends, my colleagues. Like when you said I made you feel like you can rule the world, I'm like, yes, you, in my head, I was like, of course you could. Like, what do you want to do? Let's do it right now. Like,
Yeah.
I am clapping until my hands are red. I am screaming loud. I'm listening to you. When you say clap, I clap. When you say cheer, I cheer. I am folks' biggest cheerleader because I know what it feels like to have no one clapping for you. When you run that race and there's not a single person at that finish line saying, job well done. I know that feeling. And that's because, I've grown up by myself in New York City in a sense, in my young age. And I never want anyone to feel that. So I am a cheerleader. I'm like, yeah, you can. Let's do it. Let's do it together.
Yeah, no, I love that. And we're seeing over the course of this Netflix dance competition that you're currently hosting, and we're seeing slices of that personality in this show. Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh my, this show is the best dance competition show in the world. I mean, the reality is we're giving it back to the people. The choreographers are our contestants. We have 8 of them from New York and LA. The prize is $100,000. And we have 100 dancers who are our judge and jury. They not only work with these choreographers to tap into their leadership skills, their communication skills, right? Their ability to handle pressure, and they not only perform with them, but they end up giving them critical feedback. And they end up voting for them or not voting for them. And I think that to me, that is exceptional because dancers are underrated sometimes and oftentimes underpaid, undervalued, and they are the best athletes in the world. And that they are in the studios, they are literally rehearsing until they bleed. Sometimes their toes bleed. And then you see a 2-minute dance and you're like, some people are like, oh, that was cute. And it's like, no, they put in hours of work and they're making the experience better. And so for me, this show uncovers and unlocks that, and it makes me feel good. Which you probably won't see on screen, but there are moments that I cried. There were many moments that I shedded a tear because as the host, I have to deliver the good news. I have to, throw a little wrench in your plan, just to keep everybody on their toes. But I also have to deliver the bad news or the not so good news. And it caught me off guard. I got to tell you, I didn't expect to get emotional, but when you have to, I know, they vote and I have to tell someone that it's time to go home. Oh my goodness. And this person has been on the show or they've been rehearsing and I've seen them evolve, or I even known some of them prior, like these folks, I've seen them on Instagram, and just to see the fact that, or to feel the fact that I have to tell them this is where their journey ends. I didn't think it was going to be as hard as it was. So there are moments, off camera where I am I cry. And then I'm apologizing. I'm so sorry I had to be the one to say that. Even though it's my job, it's people's livelihood. $100,000 will change someone's life. And especially a dancer's life where we don't get paid as much as most folks maybe even think, or as we should.
Well, what I'm gathering is that you are a dream chaser, and I really love the concept of the show because it's very unique. Is that what gravitated you towards the series in the first place?
You hit the nail on the head. Absolutely. When the show was presented to me and that was the twist, I was all in because, again, I think it's great to have celebrity judges. I'm not knocking any show with a celebrity judge. And if you consider myself a celebrity, you're like, well, Ali, I don't judge the dancers. I give no feedback. I only ask questions. I am not a judge. I'm not telling who stays, who goes in terms of making the decision. Even though I tried, I really tried to throw a wrench when we filmed the first show, which it doesn't make the first show, but the first show, I knew my lines. I rehearsed them. I had to help write the lines. And I was like, everyone stays. They were like, Ali, you need cut. Let's start that over. I was like, but I think this should be where everyone stays, and they're like, okay, honey, this is not your job. You're not producing this show. But that's the wow factor. That's the factor that drew me to it. And throughout the show, I'm often not surprised in a negative way, but surprised in a positive way of the feedback from some of the dancers. Sometimes it shocked me where I didn't even see what they saw. As a former dancer, I'm keen, right? And most times I'm like, yep, I saw that. I understand that. I'm agreeing. Sometimes I'm like, ooh, I didn't catch that. Let me go back to the tape because they caught something. But I do think the dance world will be buzzing as it should because I think more dancers will want to join the Dance 100. I think more choreographers will be interested because they want to be seen and they should be seen. And so, like I said, yes, it was the factor. It's the wow factor. It's shocking. It's surprising. It feels good. And it's about damn time.
No, that's right. Now, that said, does this whet your appetite to get back out there and dance at all?
The answer is no. I would say 2 reasons. One, these dancers are like scarily incredible. And the reason I say like scarily is because back in the day, I used to do all this work and I used to go out there and do what they do. So I have, like I said, ample respect for them. But like at this point in my career, I have not been in the studio hitting a step like they have. So they will sit me down, and it is justifiably so. And then on the other hand, I think, again, I've worked so hard to get to a space where now I'm able to carry the narrative around the actual dance, the dancers, and the dance world. And for me, that is that next step. So it makes sense. So none of me longs to be, oh, I should be, I wish I was one of the dancers. I have great respect. I cannot do it like they do it because they are the best in the world. And I'm just at this point in my career where like now Netflix has said, you are now the best in class to host this show. And I'm so hyper focused on being the best host and bring the best energy and having that empathy off and on camera. That's my focus, and I'm grateful for it. Now, do I drop it low in between sets? Yes, there are some clips where I'm just like, for no good reason, or probably all good reasons, I decide to just like twerk in some heels.
Look, you got to do it. You got to do it.
Can't help it.
Well, tell me about the Love Squad and the impact that it's had on you since you founded this and created this back in 2015.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and it started, I always say, sheer lack of resources and frustration. As a young woman in New York City, no family here, I knew I wanted to be a dancer. I had to come to the terms that dancers don't make enough money to live in New York City without 75 roommates and like 3 hours away from the city. And so for me, I decided, you know what, if I can't find a space for me, I'm going to create a space for me and folks that maybe feel like me. And so I created Love Squad on a rinky-dink website, and I would talk about and write about things that I knew about, which is like how not to press snooze, how to take no. You know, I've heard so many no's when I audition, how to deal with the yes, like how to deal not when, like not if, but when, right? Like these concepts around women empowerment, like how to navigate your career or ask posing questions to the community so they can help me out. I decided to bring out the community and say, you know what, we're gonna do an event, come out, it's free, because I didn't have resources. I don't want you to have that same hurdle. It's free. I tapped in a friend, and she was doing a great job at building her brand and her business. And I was like, I'm gonna moderate a conversation. She'll give a workout. I wasn't working at Peloton at the time. I was not interested in fitness, so I was not even working out or teaching. And I hosted this event, and the space could hold 50 people. 50 people showed up with a 75-person wait list. I'm definitely sure I broke a fire code, and I invited all those folks in for free. I had some food and a gift bag. I did as much as I could with no budget at a young age. And after the event, what I knew was important, was the greatest takeaway, was that folks didn't want to leave. They were so busy talking to each other. Not me, nobody, you know, at the time, I wasn't Ali Love, the Peloton instructor, or I was hosting for the Nets, but we had just started. So it wasn't necessarily like a big thing. I was just Ali Love, somebody in the community. And to see these folks rally around each other and connect and network and exchange information and still be friends to this day, I said, you know what, there's something here. And I was like, no matter how old I get, no matter how big or small my business gets or stays, we're gonna have Love Squad Tupperware party. Bring your best dish in my neighborhood, and let's have some real conversations around career building skills, around your life, around being a woman today, navigating some of the emotional capacity or incapacity that we have, and just having those real conversations personally and professionally.
I love that. You know, when you think about your journey, what really stands out to you?
My friends. I say that because this is something that's been like the last couple months, maybe, and just in this year, 2023. We often are a reflection of the people around us. And when you are proud, you even if you, like, I get excited when I think of just being a reflection of my friends, not even being myself, but just a reflection of them. I feel like, wow, okay, I've done good. If I'm a reflection of them, then I've done good, because they are great people. They're doing great things. They are people that I look up to, that I admire. We have great conversations. And so for me, building, sometimes repairing, we know like along the journey, we lose friends or we separate from each other. Seasons of life brings us apart or brings us together. And so when I look at the scope of my friend group, it's making hard decisions to let go some friendships that are, you know, that I either loved or I was hopeful of. And I think that the beauty of that journey of having some of that, and then some stability with friends that have been with me for a long time, that is a reflection of who I am. And I'm proud of that. And I'm proud of them. And I think that to me sticks out a lot.
Oh, that's beautiful. You know, we've seen you in the world of basketball, in the world of fitness, in the world of dance, and I now want to see you in all of the spaces, but what's next for you? Are you eyeballing a career in Hollywood? Is that the next thing?
What are you, planting seeds here? Oh my gosh. I don't think I'm an actress, but I didn't think I was a Peloton instructor. I didn't think I was a Netflix host. So don't listen to what I think, clearly. I shouldn't listen to what I think. I don't know, to be completely transparent, I don't know what's next. I don't often think about what's next. I mean, I am always prepared. I take classes. I'm a student. I love Audible, so I listen to a lot of books like throughout the weeks. But I don't know. I think I'm so focused on really digging into the things that I have, like continuing to be a fantastic, as fantastic by my standards, not by, but like fantastic Peloton instructor and citizen of the Peloton community and working within the sphere there. I love my job there. I love my colleagues. So it's like, how can I go deep instead of going wide? The same thing when it comes to nets. It's like the intersection of the worlds. What else is there? I have a podcast with the nets called Courtside Conversation that I created. So it's like, let's go deep into that. With the show, I'm hoping, if it gets picked up again, that it's like, how can we go deeper into making sure that these dancers continue to be seen and highlighted and leveraged and just in all the good things. And so I don't know necessarily what's next. People often say, is there a book? I don't know. I would love to write a murder mystery one day because I just feel like it's shocking. You're like, what? Ali Love? I'm like, yeah, murder mystery. And right now I'm really soaking it all in. I don't often do that. So I'm adamant about 10 toes down, going deep instead of going wide, instead of focusing on next. I'm right now.
My new favorite thing in life is going deep instead of going wide. That is a scripture right there, and I love that you gave me that.
I am grateful for you. Thank you so much. I don't know what's next for you, but if you feel like you want to conquer the world and the world being whatever's next, I say today's the day. Let's put a pen to paper. I challenge you to start writing down what's the name of it, what would it look like. I challenge you. I think you got it.
You know what? I'm going to do it because you said so, and I feel like you're not going to steer me wrong. Thank you so much, Ali. I really appreciate you.
This is so nice.